Child's Play 3. Child's Play 3 is desperately trying to continue the franchise when really, I don't think it did a good job. It only took a year between the last one and this one. Child's Play 3 is a 1991 horror movie directed by Jack Bender. This sequel kind of is a bit of a detriment to itself because it tries to up the ante when the second one did it way better. 3, I like it, but it objectively is worse than 2. So apparently 3 takes place 8 years after 2, but I don't think the math checks out. I could be totally wrong on that because I believe he's supposed to be 6 in 2. I don't think much time passes between 1 and 2, and then this one 8 years passes, but he's 16 when he should be 14. Again, could be wrong. Maybe there's 2 years between 1 and 2 chronologically and not just in the real world, but I don't know. The reason that Chucky returns in this one kind of makes more sense, I guess. It's still really stupid. This movie's weird. So for the plot of this movie, Andy is in a military school because he's labeled as being a disobedient child, which is fair. I mean, that does seem to be like a logical next iteration for this franchise in terms of where Andy's life would progress to. Now he's been in and out of several foster homes, so the first one that we saw in 2, many more afterwards didn't work out, and most of them labeled for the same reasons or for he didn't trust them. One reason or another, it just didn't work out. He really just wants to live with his mom again. I really like the concept of this movie. It's pretty much everybody that Chucky goes off against this one should be capable of defending themselves, that is. It's not just everyday people, it's kids being trained to be in the military, or adults who have a military background. So in theory, everybody will be able to defend themselves adequately, but they still don't. And that's kind of what I mean when my feelings on the movie is that it's a bit disappointing and it doesn't live up to the potential that it presents. The first act, really cool. It sets up a lot of great stuff with Chucky using the world around him to come back, and then the way he dispatches targets. I really like that, and it sets itself up really well. But then by the end, there's way more cool ideas than things that they actually do. Unfortunate, but it is what happened. One scene in particular that comes to my mind is the kids are playing capture the flag with paintball rounds, but Chucky goes ahead and swaps out the paintballs for live rounds. He only does it with the one side, and only one person gets shot, which is bad, absolutely. But I feel like he could have caused so much more havoc with that instead of just having it be one isolated instance. The small things like that where it sets itself up really high and then it just doesn't deliver, so it's kind of disappointing in that aspect. That scene is a very good capsule of what the entire movie is for me. The overall feeling of that, as well, is that it's the least creative. This felt definitely a lot like we need to make a sequel, and considering there was only 1 year between 2 and 3, I'm going to assume that's the case. A sequel had to be made. It had to be made by next whatever month this came out. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it does feel very rushed. Very good ideas, but they should have just been tweaked slightly. Even in the character department, Andy is played by a different actor, which is fine. Because of the time jump, they needed somebody older. You can't connect with Andy as much because it's a different actor. He's coming into this on his own. It's not his fault, really. It's not. And on top of that, there's no characters that are really likable. I suppose Tyler is a likable character. He's like I'm going to say around 10 years old at the school. Why is he here? They do kind of explain it, but it's still stupid. Kids should not be here, and I think that is a good message that the movie sends, is that kids need a childhood. Which, hey, maybe this was an allegory for the entire franchise as a whole. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that smart, but we can hope. On the bright side, Chucky himself was hilarious in this movie. Always just being sinister. It's good stuff. I really like Chucky in this movie. They, as I said, with 2, they really came into their own with how they wanted Chucky to be presented, and in this one, he's very much the heart and soul of the franchise at this point, and you can tell that. Andy's there, but he is absolutely overshadowed by Chucky this time, especially because of the different actor. You gravitate towards Chucky a lot easier because he can change bodies. Even though they're plastic bodies, it still works. I can absolutely see why they changed direction following this film. Chucky's great in this one. The effect work on him, and in general, I don't think it was as strong this time around. I don't know if it's because I'm used to it at this point, or if the jump between 1 and 2 was me setting some super high expectations for 3 that couldn't live up to it, but it just didn't do much for me in the effect department. It was fine. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't really spectacular either. One of the reasons that Andy doesn't work for me as well, just to backpedal a little bit, is because he has experience with Chucky. You would think that he would know how to dispatch him right away and take him out, but he doesn't, or if he did, then we wouldn't have a movie. So he spends most of the movie kind of knowing how to take out Chucky, but being unable to. So it's that weird, like, writing flaw there, I'd say. It just feels like, oh, he can't get to him just because. Or when in any situation where he can get him, he's just not able to. When he was younger, it's understandable. You're not going to know how to fight him. But now that you've had experience with him twice, you should know what you're doing. And he kind of does, but he doesn't act on it, really. Just kind of frustrating. I really did like the location of this movie, though, and it does a lot to differentiate itself from the original two, because it's on a military school, and we've seen a school in the second one. I don't really remember a school in the first one. No, he gets dropped off at school in the first one. But anyways, there's a school in the second one, but this one, because he's older and it's a militarized school, it is very different. So I do appreciate that visually being different than the rest. It also feels like it was filmed on a different style of camera, but I could be wrong on that one. Or it could be the cinematography. This movie feels different than the first two. The soundtrack was fine. It wasn't really memorable to me, unfortunately. Overall, I did enjoy watching this movie, but it was mostly because of Chucky. I do feel like it was a downgrade from the last two, and it was a bit of a disappointment because they set up a lot of really cool ideas in the first act, but none of them really come through, or in the ways they come through are not really satisfying. So overall, enjoyable movie, could have been way better. Lackluster ending. I don't want to spoil, but I found it very lackluster. But overall, I would label this movie a disappointment. Unfortunate, but I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, bell. I always forget to tell people about the bell. Hit the bell. Share with friends. I don't know. Anyways, goodbye. Have a good day.